I'm pumped to be here. Just pumped to be doing comedy. I used to work at the Home Depot. I don't know if you guys been there before, but that's a pretty sad place. The slogan for Home Depot is, "You can do it, we can help." And it's vague, but I'm pretty sure they're talking about suicide. You know what I mean? Just saying, that's how I felt most of the time. I spent a lot of time on the rope aisle, just hanging out. Okay. Well, I travel around a lot. I stay at a lot of different hotels. I don't always get the best hotels. I was in this hotel recently and nothing worked. The elevator didn't work. I finally got up to my room and the Wi-Fi didn't work. So I went back downstairs. I was like, "Hey, the Wi-Fi doesn't work." And he was like, "Yeah, it's a little shaky. But the network name is Ramada Inn 1." And that's when I realized why it was shaky. Because we weren't at a Ramada Inn. I could see the Ramada Inn through the window. People in there on their laptops having a good time. He was like, "But it works real good down here in the lobby. Why don't you just use it here in the lobby?" And I'm like, "Well, obviously you don't know what I need Wi-Fi for." You know what I mean? Okay. I'm not working on a spreadsheet up there, buddy. I got stress. I like to wave like this. I do this a lot. I like to wave like this at the end of a joke. Just let you know that joke's over. A lot of times you'll know because you'll be laughing. Other times I'll have to give you one of these. I like to read bad hotel reviews. You know what I mean? I read one the other day. This guy was like, "This hotel room was so disgusting. There was bugs in the bed, blood in the carpet. I felt like I was going to catch a disease. And that continental breakfast was a joke." I was like, "Dude, you stuck around for breakfast? You got to get out of there, man." He's like, "I don't want to sit on none of this stuff, but let's see what they got to eat around here." I was in one hotel room and they had a sign inside the room that said, "Not responsible for stolen items." So I took some stuff, you know what I mean? I'm like, "I'm not responsible either. I don't even work here." You know what I mean? I've been needing a lamp with some plugs on it. Tired of plugging my stuff into a wall at home. Get a lamp I can plug some stuff into. Hard to find a lamp with USB ports on it, you know what I mean? One hotel room had a list of all the things you could steal and how much it cost, you know? That way if you want to steal it, they'll just charge it to your account. But they had an ironing board on there for like $20. I was like, that seems like a pretty good deal. Like, I don't do a lot of ironing board shopping, so I don't know. But $20 seems cheap, right? But also, who's bold enough to steal an ironing board from a hotel? You're at checkout, like, "Nah, I had this when I came in." Yeah, it looks a lot like yours, but I always travel with an ironing board. Good thing, because there's not one in that room. If I didn't bring this, I'd be wrinkled up right now. I don't even know how to iron, you know what I mean? I don't know how it works. I know what you do, you know, I know the process, you know, you plug it into the lamp, and then you let it heat up. You get hot wrinkles. Then you get a little water in there, and then you shoot it, you know what I mean? It's supposed to, I don't know what that does, it just makes it wet, and then I try to dry that water. You can heat that water up, but it cools down pretty quick. You know what I mean? I got a new TV recently, and not from a hotel, from, it was a gift. It's been a long time since I upgraded, and I wanted to get rid of the old one, but I didn't want to throw it away, so I decided I would take it to Goodwill. And I showed up at Goodwill with this old TV, and the Goodwill guy was like, "Nah, He said, we don't take TVs like that anymore. But they did take it. Later that night when they were closed. Just drop that thing right off. I'm not getting rejected from Goodwill, is what I'm telling you. Not today, not any day. That's a gift. You don't turn down a gift. I had a guy come up to me after a show one time, real muscular guy, and he was like, that happened to me too. He said, the Goodwill guy came out and he said, we don't take those anymore. And he was like, you won't take it right now, but you'll take it tonight. I was like, wow, that's a different approach. I think if I worked at Goodwill, I'd be like, you know what, I'll just take it right now. I'm not really sure what you mean by take it tonight. I'll just take it while the sun's out. So I dropped it off. I didn't get my receipt though, so I won't be able to claim that on my taxes. That'll be a tough year. You ever do that? You drop off a bag of clothes at Goodwill and they're like, you want a receipt for that? I'm like, nah, I don't want proof I ever owned these clothes. It's like, you see what I'm wearing, imagine what I'm giving away for free. Imagine what I'm too good for, you know what I mean? I like to get picture frames at Goodwill. Sometimes you get a good deal in there. Sometimes you can get pictures of other people's family. I don't know how that happens. People are like, well, I'm done with this frame and this family. Yeah, they mean a lot to me, but not enough to bend a staple in the back. Just don't have that kind of time. Can't be bending staples all day. All right. I heard this guy on the street the other day. He was like, this year I bought all my presents online. Well, except for some of them. And I was like, well, that's why we invented the word most. Okay. That's a good joke. And it's a good joke. We're having a good time. Very good joke. I like Goodwill. I got this hat at Goodwill. This hat changes me. A lot of people don't know that it changes me because you haven't seen me without it on, right? But if I take this hat off, you're like, oh man, I bet that guy likes rock music right there. If I put this hat on, you're like, nah, he's got a rock collection. If I take this hat off, you're like, man, that guy looks like the lead singer from the rock band Korn. If I put this hat on, you're like, nah, he grows corn. As a corn farmer. If I take this hat off, you're like, man, I bet that guy smokes weed right there. If I put this hat on, you're like, nah, that guy definitely smokes weed. You know what I mean? This hat can't change everything. You know what I mean? It's not a magic hat. How many people thought my hair was attached to this hat? A lot of people think that. A lot of times people tell me I look like Forrest Gump after he ran for a long time. That's a good joke if it were 1995. And it's still good. It holds up. It holds up. I like to wear this hat when I want to go into a store and just browse, you know? Because the salesman sees me coming in and he's like, nope, I know you're just looking. Bathroom's right over there. Just try to wash your hands in there. Okay. We're having a good time. You think this hat changes me? You should see me without this beard. I shaved this beard one time. This girl came up to me and she was like, oh, I liked you better with the beard. Which is the exact same thing as saying, I don't like the way your face looks. I'll see you in 2 months. I'll take that razor. Okay. Okay. I went to a flea market not too long ago. I love a good flea market, and thank you. And I was in there, and this lady had this great deal on DVDs, right? And I love DVDs. She had 3 DVDs for $5. And that's a good deal. So I was like, I'm gonna go ahead and get 6 of these. That way I can get 6 for 10. 3 for 5, 2 times. Pretty easy. But I went up to this lady and I was like, hey, I'd like to get these DVDs. She goes, how many you got there? I said 6. She said, you know it's 3 for 5, right? I was like, yeah, 6 for 10. She goes, well, I guess. I was like, nah, this is your deal. This is just 3 for 5, 2 times. So I figure it's settled, right? I figure, hey, getting it for $10. But then I hear her back there doing math. She's going, shh, shh, shh. Then she closed her eyes. She goes, all right, that'll be $15. I was like, listen, I'm not even trying to bargain with you right now. This is your deal. It's just 3 for 5, 2 times. If you want, I'll buy these 3, and then I'll take off this hat. And I'll buy these other 3. And that worked. You know what I mean? She didn't know how that second guy got there, but she sold him some DVDs. You know what I mean? Okay. When you hang out with a lot of broke people all the time, like I do, everything's always fancy to them. Like the other day, I was hanging out with my mom, and we were out to dinner, and she was like, oh, this is so fancy. And I was like, Mom, it's Olive Garden. Of course it's fancy. That's a good joke. And you don't think it's going to be a good joke, and then you're like, oh, you know what, that is a good joke. And it's a good deal. It's your deal. Okay. I used to wait tables. I worked at a seafood restaurant in Charleston, South Carolina, a seafood restaurant called Hyman's. That's right. Just located on the same block as a restaurant called Sticky Fingers. That's true. Just telling you where it's at, and not everyone knows what a hymen is, and that's okay. I didn't know what it was for a long time, but if you don't know, just go home tonight, look that up. Enjoy that joke on your own time. Just saying, it's a tight joke, and okay, that is too far, and I'm sorry about it. Just don't forget, we're having a good time. There'll be times when you're like, I'm not sure if we're having a good time anymore, but I'll be here to let you know. But I used to work there, and it's owned by a family with the last name Hyman, and I was working in there one day, and this lady said to me, she goes, oh, are you one of the Hymans? I was like, yeah, because they named me Dusty Hyman. You know what I mean? I'm the oldest one, and no one will touch me. A lot of people would come in there and they would close the menu and they'd go, what's good? I'm like, well, open this back up. It's all inside here. Call this the food menu, and we like to think it's all good. A lot of people like to pair up wines with food, and that's cool, but sometimes they do it in weird situations. Like I had this guy go, what kind of wine do you recommend with the fried catfish? I was like, I don't know, Budweiser? Or people come in there and they'll be in a real big hurry. They're like, can we be in and out of here in 30 minutes? I'm like, hell, you can leave right now. Don't let me hold you up. You got stuff to do, I hear you. Some people think they're tricking you, They're like, let me get a large glass of water, a lot of lemons, a lot of sugar. I'm like, we sell lemonade, right? I'm watching you. I see what you're doing. Get a lot of tourists in there, and that's cool, but they ask a lot of weird questions, They're always like, what's something non-touristy we can do? Which I think's a weird question, because you're on vacation. should do touristy things. But they're like, what's something non-touristy we can do? I'm like, I don't know. You can get in your car and go home. You know what I mean? That's the most non-touristy thing you can do. You can buy a house. You know what I mean? Just move on in. They're like, well, we want to do something the locals do. What's something the locals do? And I'm like, well, I'm local. Right now I'm at work. Guess I can get you a job. Hell, you can take my shift. We'll do something the tourists do. There's a lot of words you got to be careful using, you know. The other day I was, like, obituary is one of those words. The other day I was on the street and I said that, and this lady was like, what'd you call me? I was like, you ain't nothing but an obituary. I heard this guy the other day, he was like, man, I live so close to that bar, it ain't even funny. And I thought, why would that be funny? He said, it's so cold outside right now, it ain't even funny. And I thought, has there ever been an appropriate temperature where you go outside and it's just hilarious? You're like, woo, had to come back in, catch my breath. It's just too funny out there right now. I was gonna go to the store, get us some snacks. I can't do it right now. Better wait till it cools down or heats up, one of the two, but temperature it's at right now is just getting me right in here. Too funny. In the summertime, we have what they call the heat index, you know? That's where the weatherman comes on TV and he says, looks like it's gonna be 80 degrees tomorrow, but it's gonna feel like 100 because of the heat index. And I'm like, man, that's pretty convenient. Wish I could use that for things in my life, you know what I mean? Like if I'm gonna take a girl out on a date and we get back to my car and I'm like, listen, I know it looks like I drive a 1992 Ford Tempo. It's gonna feel like a Ferrari. You know what I mean? Because of the heat index. Well, if we're out, we're having some drinks, I'm like, listen, I know it looks like I'm trying to get you drunk, but it's going to feel like we're getting to know each other. Because of the heat index. Or if we get back to my place, I'm like, listen, I know it looks like I live in a trailer. It's going to feel like a double wide. You know what I mean? Because of the heat index. Plus, we just got that one window unit, so it's going to be hot in there. It's going to be warm. Toasty. I don't know where my credit score's at these days. I don't know a lot about credit scores, you know. I've been seeing a lot of commercials for checking your credit score. These commercials act like you can fix all your problems by just checking your credit score. They say things, they don't give you no other instructions, you know. They just want you to check it. They say things like, you don't want to live with your parents forever, do you? Well, you better check that credit score. But it's like, if you check it and it's bad, it's still bad. Like, checking don't help. Like, I'd like to see this play out in a bank somewhere, right? Like some guy comes in to get a loan, and the banker's there, and he's like, well, Jim, your credit score's terrible. But I see here that you've been checking it a lot. We appreciate that, so. Here's a house. Every one of those credit score commercials, the people on the TV, they never heard of checking their credit score. They have no idea, right? They never heard of a credit score. They pull out their phone, check it, great credit. Like, wow, amazing. I want to see a real credit score commercial. When the guy pulls out his phone, he's like, what, 170? Is that good? And then someone comes in and takes his phone. Put a little fear behind checking your credit score. You know what I mean? All right. She said, roll tide. You can't get that going in a comedy club, you know what I mean? I grew up in Alabama. You know, where I come from, you're either an Alabama fan or you went to college, right? All right. Okay. All right. We're having a good time, but I didn't go to college, so roll tide. You know what I mean? Okay. That joke's for everyone, and That joke's for everyone, and we're having a good time. I grew up in a trailer park, which wasn't that fun, so not sure why they call it a park. You know what I mean? There wasn't no rides in there. No water slides. We had like an occasional slip and slide. Or like an old tarp with some Dawn dish detergent on it. We put our slip and slide over a tree root one time. Yeah. Because we was going jumping. That's not how that works. At all. I hit that tree root, I just got a job. I was like, I am done playing out here. I'm done playing, period. I got medical bills now. Okay. We never went camping growing up, because like I say, I grew up in a trailer, and we felt like we had a pretty good idea what camping was all about. I mean, we're like, nah, we already kind of live in a camper. We don't really need to take it down to a tent. Like, we know what it's like to be poor. We're not trying to find out what it means to be homeless. We're not trying to practice homelessness. You know what I mean? I used to hear this expression a lot growing up. People say, that kind of money. You ever hear that? That kind of money? You might hear it in conversation. They go, what? You hear about Bob? Yeah, I heard he got a new boat. Man, I wish I had that kind of money. Like it's a different kind. Nothing to do with the amount. You know what I mean? He's got the kind of money since his kids to college. I only got the kind to get mine out of jail. That kind of money. There is a lot of different kinds of money out there. Like when I was a kid, like there's like old money, new money, blood money, drug money. We didn't have any of that. What we had was good money, right? Good money. That's where your parents buy you something you don't like. They go, we paid good money for that. Good money buys the worst stuff, too. It's never anything good. Good money buys like airbrush t-shirts with your name on it from Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Dollywood, you know what I mean. I had a lot of t-shirts with wolves on it growing up. My mom thought I'd look good in a wolf t-shirt. She was like, the more wolves, the better. Put them all over that thing. Maybe put a little moon on there. Give that wolf something to howl at. I had a hat growing up, just had my name airbrushed across the top. Just said Dusty. That's just so I wouldn't get kidnapped. Kidnapper sees that hat, he's like, nah, his family ain't got no money. Just give him the candy, yeah? Just let him have. He probably ain't had candy in a long time. I'm out there trying to get in the van. They're like, no, we are kidnappers. I'm like, I know, I'm a kid. Trying to get napped up in here. I had this trailer park for a while. The thing that was the most fun for me about living in a trailer park was tornadoes, right? Because I got to leave. I had to go to a real house for a little while. I love going to a real house. I'd be like, man, look at all these bricks in here. The only time I ever seen a brick's when it came through my window. With a note on it. It said, cut your grass. That's how they do it in the Mobile Homeowners Association. Mobile Homeowners Association. Sometimes I'll say that twice because it's a good joke. That is fun. Mobile Homeowners Association. You know what I mean? We're having a good time. One December we had a tornado warning, and I was listening to the radio, and they were telling us what to do during this tornado warning based on what kind of house you live in, right? They were like, if you live in a house with a basement, go into the basement. If you live in a house without a basement, go into a bathroom or a small room. And they were like, if you live in a trailer park, we want you to go to a neighbor's house or go outside and lay down in the ditch. Yeah. That's the real news. They're like, listen, we don't know what to tell you. Hell, you made some bad decisions along the way. Now you got to deal with this. They're like, we can't help you. Yeah, you should have checked that credit score a couple of times. You might not be in this mess. They're like, yeah, I know it's raining out there, and that ditch is going to be full of water. Just get down in it. Yeah, it's December. It's going to be cold. You're probably going to get sick. Just get down in there. I like that they think that there's a ditch located next to every trailer park. Like it just comes with it, you know? Part of the trailer park amenities. Every trailer park gets their own tornado ditch. I like that the other option they give you is to go to a neighbor's house, right? Because I don't know what kind of trailer parks they know about, but trailer park that I grew up in, my neighbor also lived in a trailer. It's like they just want us to meet up in one, maybe weight it down. The tornado can't carry it off, you know what I mean? And if we did have house neighbors, you know, they're not just so welcoming to the trailer park people. They're not like, no, come on in. Come on in, check out our stuff we have in here. You know what I mean? It's that people that want you to take your shoes off before you come inside, you know what I mean? I hate that. Show up at somebody's house, they're like, hey, come on in. You mind taking off your shoes? I'm like, nah, I'll just go home. Like, I wish you'd told me that on the phone. I wouldn't even come over here. Not me lounging around in my socks like we about to do yoga in here. They're like, namaste. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna leave. I feel like when people ask me to take my shoes off before I come inside, it's like they're saying, hey, our house is cleaner than you. Try not to mess it up in here. Matter of fact, take off the rest of your clothes. Jump in the shower. Give me some time to put a sheet down on the couch. They're right, though. Most houses are too clean for me, you know? That's not how I was raised, you know? I was raised in a dirty house. We had the type of house where people show up and they try to take their shoes off. We're like, nah. Nah, you better keep those on in here. Yeah, you get hurt walking around in here barefooted. Broken glass. Fish hooks. Now, we weren't real poor growing up. We just didn't have everything, you know? Like, I never got ice cream growing up. That's true. My mom used to just pour milk into a bowl. Then she'd call me into the room and go, well, you're too late. He's like, I guess you'll come next time I call you. They're laying down in the ditch. Messing up that new wolf shirt I got you out there. Need good money for that shirt. You know what I mean? Okay. Thank you. One guy clapped for that, and I appreciate that. And, now we got picked up another. And they're mounting. Now, we never went to the ditch in my family. We always went to my grandmother's house. We went to her house for tornadoes and sometimes just for visits. And I never liked going because my grandma was real mean and she didn't have an air conditioner, you know, so we'd just be real hot and scared all the time. And my grandma would just sit there and crochet Afghans all day. I don't know if you guys know what an Afghan is, but it's like a blanket with holes in it. Serves no real purpose. In case you want to stay hot and cool all at the same time. In case you want to cover up but still catch a breeze. No need to trap in all that heat. Sort of like covering up with a net. Like a real itchy net. One day I was down there, this is Alabama, one day I was down there and I was sweating and I fell asleep or passed out. And when I woke up, I could see into my grandmother's bedroom. And she was changing. Yeah, saw my grandma's boobs, guys. I freaked out. I couldn't look away. This is Alabama. Couldn't look away, but freaked out, right? So I did the only thing I could do, grabbed a blanket, threw it over my head. Turns out it wasn't a blanket. It was an Afghan. So I could see right through. Now it's worse. Now it looks like I'm trying to catch a pig. I'm like, let me see them boobs, Grandma. You can't see me, I'm a ghost. First boobs I ever saw. That's true. That's true. Kind of changes things for you. Kind of makes you more of an ass man. I'm like, if they all look like that, I'm just not that into it. To be honest with you, I heard about them, but that wasn't what I was thinking at all. The worst thing for me about growing up in a trailer, the worst thing, because I had a good time in there, we had a good time. The worst thing was having to write my address down on anything in elementary school, right? Because I didn't become the poor kid till I had to write Lot 8, Moore's Trailer Park, down on my school paperwork. All the other kids are like, Dusty, you live in a trailer? I'm like, I don't know why you're so surprised. I mean, my first name is Dusty. And every day I come to school in a NASCAR t-shirt, and my backpack's from the Marlboro catalog. That's right, my parents finally smoked enough for me to start carrying some books. That's right. That's how we did our Christmas shopping, you know? My mom handed me a Marlboro catalog. I circled what I wanted. She started smoking. He's like, I'll get it. I'll get it. I'll get it. My parents didn't do a lot of smoking, though. They're the type of people that smoke with the windows rolled up in the car. You know what I mean? They didn't even think about it, you know what I mean? Get mad at me when I'd ask to crack a window. I'll be down in the floorboard trying to catch a breath. They're like, get up before we wreck. Get back in your car seat. Just kidding, never had a car seat. Marlboro didn't make one of those. They're like, just lay down back there. You get pulled over, put this blanket on over you. Yeah, it's Afghan, you can see. I would like to see a Marlboro brand car seat, though. I think that'd be fun, you know? Instead of a little cup holder, it's got a little ashtray. Comes with a little pacifier and just put a cigarette right in, you know what I mean? For the baby. Baby's got a lot going on. They got a lot of stress. A lot going on. They got teeth coming out, teeth coming in. That's a lot to deal with. Teething. We never had the tooth fairy growing up. We had the opposite of the tooth fairy. We just had a guy that would come in, steal your money, and leave teeth. That's a good joke. And we always recycled stuff like that. I think we invented recycling. Trailer park people, I think we invented recycling. You know? We're the first people to take an old truck bed turned into a trailer. First people to take an old bed sheet turned into a door. You know what I mean? First people to take an old coffee can turned into a bank account. You know what I mean? You bury it in the backyard, savings account. Find out where your neighbor buried his, free checking. You know what I mean? That's true. Saving up to get drugs, joint checking. You know what I mean? That's a fun joke. I wore a lot of NASCAR T-shirts growing up. And there's nothing wrong with wearing a NASCAR T-shirt, but I wore way more than the average person, you know. In fact, anytime I had to dress nice, my mom would just put me in my newest NASCAR T-shirt. I'd be like, "This ain't that nice." She's like, "I know. Tuck it in." You know what I mean? That changes everything. Go from working on the car to church just by tucking it in. My dad still does that. He tucks his shirts in tight, too. Real tight. He make a V-neck out of a turtleneck. Got T-shirt coming out the bottom of his jeans. Seeing chest hair through the shirt. That's tight. That's tight. My dad's a big University of Alabama fan, right? And he tucks his shirts in so tight, all you see is university. Like he's just for college. He's not for college, though. He's not into it. I never went to college. I said that earlier, but I never went. I didn't go because I had to pay for it. And I always figured that at 18 years old, if I had enough money to pay for college, I was probably doing all right already. You know what I mean? I also don't feel like we need college for everything, you know? Like, if you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, probably a good idea if you go to college, you know what I mean? But I didn't want to be those things. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I figured we don't need it for everything. You know, building roads, building houses, we'll figure it out. You know what I mean? Abraham Lincoln built a house. Did he go to college? I don't know. Yeah. Not even sure he built a house, I'll be honest with you. That's just what people tell me, I don't know. And they named the logs after him, so. That's gotta mean something. You know what I mean? Yeah, I didn't like school. I didn't like handwriting, you know what I mean? You print for a while and then they try to make you write in cursive. I always hated that. Like about the time I'm perfecting print, they want to slip in cursive on me, you know? Like it's the evolution of print, you know? That's not what it is. Cursive's like print's weird cousin that likes touching way too much. You know what I mean? Okay. We're having a good time. And I never liked reading. This is why I don't like to read, though. When I was a little kid, there was this TV show called Reading Rainbow. You guys remember that show? They had a host on there. A guy named LeVar Burton, trying to get everybody to read books all the time. Then he showed up on Star Trek blind. That's what reading does. That's why I don't get into it. You know? I feel like I'm getting a little older, you know. I was sitting in my backyard the other day and I saw this bird and I was like, "Ooh, wonder what kind of bird that is. Wish I could see it up close. Wonder what he's eating right now." Then I realized I'm not getting old, I'm just real high right now. Okay, we're having a good time. Let's not forget we're having a good time. I'm like, I'm not even sure that's a bird. Oh, damn, I'm not even outside. You know what I mean? Okay. I feel like weed's done some good things, though, right? Like for me, weed really changed my perspective on skunks. Right? You know what I mean? Like when I was a little kid, I'd be riding down the road with my mom, and I'd smell that smell. I'd be like, "What's that smell?" She's like, "Oh, that's a skunk." And I'd be like, "Ooh, that's gross," right? Now when I'm riding down the road and I smell that smell, I'm like, "Where'd that skunk get that weed at?" It smells so much like weed, it makes me think that my mom was just smoking weed in the car. I jump up out of the back seat, I'm like, "What's that smell?" She's like, "Oh, that's a skunk. I didn't even know you was in here right now." You weren't supposed to be on this vacation. On my way to get you a new wolf shirt in here. Just lay down back there, put that Afghan on over here. I used to get high a lot when I was younger. Well, not like a little kid, but in between the age of being a little kid and how old I am right now. And I got real high one time and I went to this gas station and I pulled up to the pump and I got out, realized I'd pulled up to the wrong side of my car, you know? Not a big deal. Got back in, laughed for a while. Then I drove all the way around to the other side, still on the wrong side. I just left, you know what I mean? You can't mess up twice and still try to get gas. I just took the Papa John sign off the top of my car and put it in the back seat. Not trying to get fired too, you know? Worst part was I prepaid, and that's just giving money away. Like I went inside, I was like, here's a 20. Just put that in your pocket. I'm gonna circle the parking lot a couple of times and I'm gonna take off. We just get some lunch. Because you can't go back in there, right? You can't go back in and be like, hey man, I just can't figure out these pumps out here. Hell, I tried a couple, but yours are all on that same side, and I can't get in there. You ever go to a place like that and you pay with cash? They pull out that counterfeit pen, start marking all your money right in front of you. And then when they give you change, they give you back cash. I'm always like, let me hold on to that pen for a second. You don't trust me, I don't trust you. Yeah, I know it's a 1, you know? Trying to roll around out here with counterfeit 1s, you know? I want to go to 2 rodeos. Then when I go to the second one, I want to go, this ain't my first rodeo. I never had any family in the military, but my sister did one tour with the Dollar General, and I drank gas one time, and I did drink gas, not on purpose. Wasn't making a drink. I was trying to get it out of a lawnmower, put it into a four-wheeler, so I'd go riding, you know. So I was stealing, and I had never done it before. I was using a garden hose, or as I like to call it, a hose pipe, and a lot of people don't know what a hose pipe is. I feel like I made up that word sometimes. But all I knew is that you put one end into the garden hose, one end into the lawnmower, and then you suck on the other end, right? And don't drink the gas, right? But I didn't even think about drinking the gas. I was like, this is gonna be fine. Right? So I gave it a big, and nothing came, right? So I was like, well, I gotta do better than that, right? So I start working my breath. But before I do that, I go ahead and cup it. I don't want to lose my progress, you know? Start working it. Exhale, inhale. Exhale, inhale. Really working it. Expanding the lungs. You know, I was a smoker, so wasn't a lot going on in there, but, you know, but I put it back, and then I already had a huge exhale. I think gas had worked its way most of the way up the hose, you know? Because it was just waiting on me. I wasn't ready. I gave it a big, and immediately drank a lot of gas. Like it was too quick. I wasn't ready. Filled my stomach, my lungs. I was crying gas. I freaked out. I don't know if you've done this before, but there's a moment where you're like, this is not good. Instincts kicked in. I ran inside, started drinking a bunch of water, and I ended up just throwing up all this gas. And then it was fine, but I burped up gas for like 2 weeks. Yeah, I had to quit smoking. I was afraid I was gonna light myself on fire. You know what I mean? That works. That's better than Chantix. You know what I mean? I quit drinking altogether, not just gas, alcohol too. I had to quit drinking because I used to black out all the time, you know? Nothing good ever happens when you black out, you know? No one's ever like, man, you blacked out last night, but I appreciate you helping with those taxes. A lot of money back. I used to send a lot of drunk texts. I was always ruining friendships, relationships, just trying to be funny. And I always wanted them to invent a cell phone breathalyzer, you know? That way when you're leaving that bar at 2 a.m., looking to text that ex-girlfriend you vowed to never text again, you just blow in there, you go, goes, not tonight. You're way too drunk for that. You just get in your car and drive home. I used to drink and drive a lot. I'm not bragging about it, but one time when I was 19, I was leaving this party with a buddy of mine, and we were driving to meet these girls that lived in this trailer park, and we had 2 unopened beers with us. All we had to do was not open those beers, right? But we thought, hey, we're gonna be cool. We're gonna crack open these beers. That way when we show up at the trailer park, we can get out, and these girls will be like, dang, those guys don't mess around. They drink and drive. Because nothing turns on a girl from a trailer park like knowing she's gonna have to drive you to a couple of court dates. She loves knowing that for the next 6 months she'll have somebody to ride shotgun in her car. She can give rides to, right? So that's what we did. We cracked them open. A couple of Bud Lights, we're sipping on them. Put it in the center console, then we got pulled over by a policeman. And I knew that this policeman could see, because he was driving a car. And I knew he was gonna see those 2 beers in the center console, so I did the only thing I could do, and I tucked him underneath the seat, hoping maybe he didn't have a sense of smell. Turns out he did have a sense of smell. He asked me to step outside the car. He was like, have you been drinking tonight? And I had, but I lied. And I said, no, sir, not even a little bit. And he was like, okay, blow on my face. And at this point, I was just happy that he said face. You know what I mean? So I blew on his face, and he goes, all right, well, I smell alcohol, so be honest with me. Have you been drinking tonight? And then I was like, okay. I had a couple of sips. I was thirsty, that line, I was so thirsty, and the only thing around was beer. So yeah, I went to jail. And but I got out, I got out. I called my brother-in-law to come pick me up from jail, and he showed up to pick me up from jail in a dump truck. Turns out my nightmare was a 5-year-old's dream. Getting to ride in a dump truck and a police car all in one day. That's a good joke. And you can't make that up, you know what I mean? You ever hear people say that? They tell you some story and they go, you can't make that up. Like, you know what? You can. I didn't, but you can. It's called telling a lie. People do that all the time. People tell lies all the time. You know what I mean? I still mess up with texting and stuff like that. Alcohol didn't change nothing, but autocorrect gets me in trouble all the time now. I was texting with this girl the other day, and she sent me this picture of her, and I was like, ooh, I really like that. And she said, I got 1 million of them. And I was like, well, keep them coming, right? But I spelled it like keep and then E-M, like keep them coming, right? Well, my phone auto-corrected E-M to M-E. Which is way different. Really changes the whole tone. Well, that's not what I was saying at all. I had another girl, she came over to watch a movie one night, and when she left, we had a great time. And when she left, I went to text, great seeing you tonight. But I typed one too many E's in seeing, and it auto-corrected to seating, right? So my text said, great seating you tonight, which is a weird text. But weirder because we didn't even do anything, right? Now she's just wondering how long she fell asleep during that movie. It's not the kind of text I'm trying to send. I had another girl, we went out several times, and she texted, I love you. And I meant to text, I love you too, but my phone auto-corrected to, I feel smothered. You can't make that up. And we're having a good time. We're having a good time. My parents got divorced when I was 2. Then there was a custody battle, and my mom lost. So I had to go live with her. I feel like parents are different today than they were when I was a kid, especially when it comes to pets, right? Like today you might hear some parents say something like, we gotta take our cat to the vet, right? But when I was growing up, my dad would be like, we don't have a cat anymore. Then that cat was gone. I couldn't even get mad about it. I'd just be like, well, I hope we get another one. He's like, well, we'll see what wanders up. Because we didn't have real pets. We just had prisoners of nature. Right? Like a dog would wander up, we'd chain him to a tree. Now he's ours. We had the meanest cat you ever seen for about 2 weeks. Found out it was a possum, and I told you we weren't readers, you know what I mean? And there wasn't no internet back then. We just thought it was a weird breed. You ever seen a possum? You're not supposed to see them, I don't think. They're definitely designed for the night, you know what I mean? Scary animal. Growing up, I thought all dogs were boys. You know what I mean? I thought all dogs were boys. It blew my mind when my dog Rodney had puppies. You know what I mean? I'm like, dang, Rodney. What's going on, dude? Where'd you get all these kids from? You ever go to somebody's house and they got a dog that's barking at you, growling at you, and they go, he won't bite. I was like, why do you think that? Because he's never done it before? Well, maybe today is the day. Because he looks like he wants to bite. They're always like, well, he might lick you to death. I'm like, death? Who said anything about dying? Hell, I'm just worried about being bitten. I don't even know why you brought up death. I just think it's a weird idea, right? Because a dog looks like it wants to bite you. Right? It's like you show up at somebody's house and there's some guy in there with a knife. He's just doing like this. Huh? And he's like, he won't stab you. Yeah, he might lick you to death. Yeah, he'll settle down in a minute. He's just not used to being around people. Let him sniff you. Hey, thank you very much, guys. I appreciate you coming out. Had a great time. You guys are fantastic. I appreciate you.